People can be very tricky to figure out. Video games, on the other hand, relatively easy. The stats, facts, and figures laid out before you kind of always prove the results. And today, we're talking about how every article references Nintendo Switch swan song, Nintendo Switch on its way out, Nintendo Switch all remakes and ports. And the facts just don't back any of that up. If anything, they back up the opposite, and I'm worried that this generational journey is far from over. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. Who's ready for a fantastic new week? Hip, 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 hip. Come on now. Get excited. We got good stuff. We have Everybody Want to Switch out this week. June 30th, MC Horus unleashes his horror upon our nation and the nations abroad. I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be freaky. I'm going to have to play it. We're going to have to figure it out. It's probably going to be terrible. We're going to do it. But there's also this game, Master Detective Raincode, that is from the Danganronpa. Forgive me for pronunciation. But that game series, right? The mystery games with some humor. This one seems to have less humor, but maybe better gameplay. I haven't heard a lot of buzz lately. It seems like it's going to be super good. Let me know if I should check it out, because I've read good things. The gameplay trailer looks good. I like the team behind it, but I feel like it's just become an afterthought. Like, Everybody Want to Switch somehow has more internet buzz, and I don't know if it's just because it's coming out in June, if it's because it's a niche title, but what do you think about Master Detective Raincode? It's out the 30th, same day as Horst. Which game should I get? Which game would you get? Tough calls all around. We don't have a ton of new news because Nintendo is, they're still feeling the after effects of the Direct. It was a big Direct, and apparently it was full of remakes and ports. Let's just start right there, because this is the first fallacy that is being broadcast to you. I, more than anybody, want a new, more powerful Nintendo Switch. After months and months of Steam Deck play and a week or so of ROG Ally play, I would love a more powerful Switch. The Switch feels so weak. I would love it, but I feel like we are over a year and probably a year and a half away from new hardware, because Nintendo's lineup actually isn't what's being said. Everybody talks about this last Direct was all remakes and ports. There is two. There is Mario RPG, which is bringing back a game from like 20 plus years ago. When we do remakes nowadays, we do games from like last gen. Like the Last of Us remake. No, this is Mario RPG. So even though it is a remaster remake, like it's actually a remaster remake, I barely count that. This is a company going back to one of its strange, unique, beloved, fan favorite genre alt classics and returning it for a new generation. This isn't a company taking, I don't know, a game from last gen like they were doing the first few years of Switch. Then we have a bunch of new games like Mario Bros. Wonder, the new WarioWare, Detective Pikachu 2, Pikmin 4. Those are all new. None of them are ports. We also have a Princess Peach game that's brand new. Surely, she's never seen a home console headliner debut. And we have Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. But let me remind you that just about every single year of Switch, Nintendo takes a Wii or a Wii U game and moves it on over to Switch. That's what they do every February or March. It's just kind of like routine for them. And yeah, Dark Moon's coming from the 3DS, but it's clearly going to be the game that they do. Like, they brought a Kirby over, they brought Captain Toad over, they brought New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe over. They do this early year, every year. If Tears of the Kingdom was a holiday title, people would think Nintendo was in its absolute glory days, its absolute heyday. Yet instead we have these articles trying to frame things like Nintendo's at the end of the rope. All remakes, all ports. Excuse me, the Game of the Year came out in May. If that was a November title, people would still be freaking out with anticipation. And even with Zelda being a May release, they have a ton of new games. July, new game. October, new game. November, new game. If you include things like Dragon Quest Monsters, December, new game. Yeah, there's some ports of old titles like Batman and Lara Croft, but there's been ports on Switch and every other platform for eons. Let's take a look across the lane and see what our compatriots on the PlayStation and Xbox side are putting out. They're big, right? Like, they're in year 3, they're digging in, they're really delivering. Oh wait, Sony has one first-party exclusive, Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong, Spider-Man 2 looks hot as heck. Venom, rawr, probably my favorite Spider-Man villain. Xbox put out a negative game with Redfall. I don't even know how you account for that. I feel like that counts as -2 for them. Then they got Starfield, which is a +2, so they're back even. And if you count Forza Motorsport, which we should, even though I think iterative racing isn't all that exciting, they have 1. Starfield will give them 2. 2, 1 on the PlayStation, and Nintendo has 4 or 5 just in the second half of the year. What on earth are we talking about? What is this narrative where Nintendo is done and the new console is imminent? Because I don't see it. People for a while were really harping on this idea that in Famitsu sales, which tracks hardware and software sales in Japan, the Switch was losing. The Switch was losing momentum. Guess what, baby? The past few weeks, Nintendo Switch has been doubling up the PlayStation 5, pushing 80,000 units this past week. What are we talking about? The Switch is thriving, and even though we have this industry-wide narrative that it's over, and even though yours truly kind of wishes it was so that we could get to the new system, there is a world where Nintendo does not put out a new system for a very long time. I don't see the swan song people are talking about. In fact, I see opportunities and moves to expand the audience even larger. The double whammy of Mario Bros. Wonder, Mario RPG, and then, oh, by the way, Princess Peach getting her own debut game is trying to capitalize on the Mario Brothers movie mega hit and to increase the Switch audience even larger. New Super Mario Bros. Is a game that pushed 30+ million copies on Wii. Do you think it can do the same on Switch? I sure do. This is a family-centric game that, because of its creativity, quirkiness, and I bet you enhanced difficulty in certain ways, will also appeal to the hardcore who have been desperate for a new Mario game since Odyssey debuted back in 2017. Then they bring in Princess Peach, a game that can appeal to all audiences, all ages, and is interestingly new. What are we talking about? Where is the end of the line Nintendo Switch lineup? Oh, it's the GameCube games. It's the GameCube games, right? Because those are their big release highlights. The games that they stealth drop on the day of their directs as a fan servicey fun moment. In a way, even though they're overpriced and expensive, you could just group that in with their Nintendo Switch Online offerings. Because they've got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, huge DLC. Splatoon 3, huge DLC. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still kicking and giving us 3 new characters in Wave 5. NSO is bigger than ever despite their drip feed of releases. They have Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and more. And we're saying Nintendo Switch is done. This is a yin-yang, good-evil type discussion in my head because I would like to believe that the Nintendo Switch is fading. And maybe it's not as flourishing as it was in the early years, but they just released Tears of the Kingdom. And in a world where Tears of the Kingdom was in November and Detective Pikachu 2 or WarioWare was May, we would be saying Nintendo is about to have one of their hugest holidays ever. If it was Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Bros. Wonder as the holiday duo for Nintendo Switch, we would say bow down. Xbox has Forza and Sony has Spider-Man. I mean, Xbox also has Starfield, but that's a September release. The holiday would be absolutely Herculeanly owned by Nintendo. They would raise the gaming industry upon their wrists and say, we've got you gamers. But they still do, because Zelda still came out and we still have a full holiday lineup. What is this idea that the Switch is over? Everyone's saying like, oh, hardware probably is going to be talked about soon. What's the flip? I feel like I'm in upside down, topsy-turvy world because for a long while, I was hoping that the Switch 2 would happen and everyone was saying, no, it's not. And now when we get evidence to the contrary, everyone's saying it's happening, but I'm saying, no, it's not. People are very difficult to understand. People are very difficult to figure out. When you have a Nintendo Direct where your lineup consists of a ton of new titles, Pikmin 4, a new WarioWare, maybe they're not the most exciting to you, but games like Super Mario Bros. Wonder and a new Princess Peach and Mario RPG, maybe they scream slow down to some, but I look back at past years where the holiday game was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, a Pokemon port that nobody was very excited for except a select few. That to me was end of an era. That to me was dire straits. That was bringing Tokyo Mirage Remix or whatever that Fire Emblem game's called over from Wii U. That was bringing in new Pokemon Snap, which was very cool, but could have been viewed as like a, we don't got much left. And then the very next year, they brought it back with the 2 most innovative evolutionary Pokemon titles ever and delivered an absolute behemoth in Tears of the Kingdom. There is a world where Nintendo has an absolutely stellar next 6 months and maybe even a stellar 12 months. What say you if Princess Peach comes out in March and Metroid Prime 4 comes out in May? What then? What then of the Nintendo Switch's impending doom and the impending console generation transition? I want a Switch 2. I don't see it in the near future. I don't see it by the end of the year. I don't know if I even see it in the first half of 2024. At this point, an E3 reveal and a holiday release feels like our best case scenario. There is a world, and I'll regret saying this as soon as I do, where Nintendo does not need a Switch 2 until 2025. I don't understand what people are talking about. The Direct was packed with new titles, and Nintendo has an opportunity to launch a bevy of brilliant hits. They could start off next year by going Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy Wars Remake, Donkey Kong, and Metroid Prime 4. And yes, 2 of those are ports, but 3 of those actually are brand new exciting titles that haven't really seen anything quite like it on Nintendo Switch. What then? What then, my friends? Because Nintendo Switch, as much as you want to say it's down and out, is kicking, fighting, and screaming its way to reach its sales goals and stretch beyond, further than anyone could possibly imagine, with a brilliantly revealed new 2D Mario, a Metroid Prime 4 that could truly drop at any time, and a lot of classic characters that's still yet to have titles release that could be ushered out at any time to help boost sales and morale. But who needs to boost sales and morale when you're absolutely crushing it on the sales and you just had a Direct that absolutely dominated the ports and poor Nintendo storyline? It's just downright false. No matter what you want to believe, the truth is Nintendo's doing downright great. And even though everybody wanted to Switch is being buried by their own marketing team, it doesn't matter. They've got a double dose of Mario, a whole bunch of Mario Kart tracks, and even more games leading into next year, proving that Nintendo Switch, despite what they tell you, is nowhere near finished. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Do you agree with me after seeing everything laid out before you? Do you think I'm completely wrong? I'd love to know either way. Give me your opinion and take in those comments. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate y'all. SwitchForce out.